This is President Biden's first trip of his presidency to the Middle East. He is holding talks with Israeli, Palestinian, and Saudi Arabian officials. After touching down in Tel Aviv, the president reaffirmed the relationship between the U.S. and Israel. Meanwhile, at home, he got slammed with some harsh numbers. White House correspondent Owen Jensen reports. Owen?
Tracy, we'll get to those eye-popping inflation numbers in a moment, but first, the president in the Middle East, in a TV interview that aired today, he said he'd be willing to use force as a last resort to stop Iran's growing nuclear program. Israel considers Iran to be its greatest enemy.
Arriving in Israel, President Joe Biden says traveling there is a blessing.
Because the connection between the Israeli people and the American people is bone deep. It's bone deep.
It's his 10th visit to Israel, the first as president.
Generation after generation, that connection grows. We invest in each other. We dream together.
The president received a briefing on the country's Iron Dome and new Iron Beam missile defense systems.
I'm honored to invite.
And he also visited the Yad Vashem Memorial to Holocaust victims. The president, wearing a skull cap, was invited to rekindle the eternal flame in the memorial's Hall of Remembrance. Meanwhile, the latest inflation numbers show more pain for Americans. Surging prices for gas, food, and rent. Consumer prices soared 9.1% compared with a year earlier. President Biden released a statement saying, in part, while today's headline inflation reading is unacceptably high, it is also out of date. Energy alone comprised nearly half of the monthly increase in inflation. Today's data does not reflect the full impact of nearly 30 days of decreases in gas prices that have reduced the price at the pump by about 40 cents since mid-June. And during an interview with Televisa Univision broadcast Tuesday, Pope Francis described it as an incoherence that President Joe Biden, a Catholic, is in favor of legal abortion. Last week, President Biden signed an executive order aimed at protecting abortion access in response to the Supreme Court's decision to overturn Roe v. Wade.
Pope Francis said the president should talk to his pastor about the incoherence. Meanwhile, tomorrow the president meets with Israeli leaders. Then on Friday, he'll meet with Palestinian officials. He's going to emphasize a two-state solution to the Israeli-Palestinian conflict, but acknowledges that it likely would not be feasible in the near term. At the White House, Owen Jensen, EWTN News Nightly.